Hey everybody. Okay, so I, in the mail today, received the Tuffside seat that I had bought, which I'm really excited to try out how it looks. And I just want to fit it on very roughly here, not for sizing or anything really just yet, just taking a little peek to see what it looks like. That's it there. Really happy with the look, with the colour, with the stitching. It has a little upturn at the back here. I don't like when they're just completely flat. So that's how it's looking. Fits well up the front. I don't like how this tank is on this. It's kind of just one of those things. Kind of annoys me a little bit, but I think it'll be okay. But maybe there's some sort of trim or something that I can put on it that'll take that look off it. We'll see. But at the moment, yeah, I don't like the look that it has with that kind of trim. I'm glad that this at least will snug in a little bit here and it'll go right up against this, which is good. I have to figure out a way that the seat will be held down to this, but we'll figure that out. Also, I didn't get this from Tuffside, so I'm hoping that this little lock tape will work okay with this. I think it will, nicely. Cool. This is a hoop that I got on eBay. Sorry, on Amazon. And it has this little 20-degree uptick as well at the back. It was less expensive than the ones that Tuffside themselves give. So I took a little bit of a chance and ordered it online separately, but it seems to have worked out okay. Alright, so I'm going to pop my flapper disc on here again and we'll clean up this. And I think then we're ready to pop the sleeves in here and measure up the hoop. This is that flapper disc, just in case anybody's kind of wondering what it looks like or what it is. Got it in Home Depot. This one here is a 60 grit, but it's surprisingly abrasive. So that's how it's looking now. It's got that straight profile, and like I said, I just grinded back this a little bit more so that we can make sure we can get the welding gun in nicely to put a nice bead in there. Structurally on the bike, everything lies north of the hoop, so the hoop will go on here, but really everything structural will be trellised within the frame. It'll be triangulated within the frame, so all the major stress members are all up that side. And really, this down here, it's actually, I think it's going to be quite strong. And I'm going to add some bracing in around here as well. I might even make a little tray in there too, and that we'll see in further episodes. And that's only going to add to the structural integrity of that. So I think it'll look pretty snazzy, nice and clean, and I think it'll be very strong too. We've made our cuts on the frame. We've measured a little bit on the seat where the frame ends. And now I'm going to place the hoop where I think it should be on the seat and see where we need to cut the hoop. I placed the tank on the bike, snugged it up and nice against the little rubber bushings that hold it in place. Then I snugged the seat up against the tank as close as I want it to be, without it really kind of doing any damage to the seat. And then I marked with just a little piece of painter's tape here where the frame stops. So basically now I want to put the hoop underneath here and basically measure where I want the hoop, because I've seen bikes where the hoop kind of protrudes. Don't know if you can see this, but where the hoop sort of protrudes out a little bit, and that looks cool. I've also seen bikes where it's very much been inside like that. That's cool too. So I gotta figure out what's going to work best. I also want to, I think, make a bracket on here for the tail light. So we need to make room for that too. So we don't want it to be too snug, otherwise it'll look weird. We don't want it to be too far out or it'll look weird. It's got to be just right. So I think something like that could be okay. That's looking good. On this side I know it's a little bit dark, but there's that stupid gap, but I think if I put something nice on there, maybe a piece of leather or something like that on this piece here, it might actually look okay. And the hoop's looking good. So really I think all I need to do is just weld it in. And that's how it's looking from this side. Nice. And then starting to think about bracing it up a little bit. So that's where, like I said a little bit earlier, I'm going to add some bracing in here. Also, I mentioned that I bought a little clip. I think I showed you guys this earlier. I think I showed you guys this before, but I bought this online. Oops, see if I can get it out. So what I'm kind of thinking with this is I'll pop it in place somewhere. Either somewhere like that or somewhere like this, you know, and I'll run the little cable back to a little pull string. So what it'll mean is that, and I'll have to make something up as well for the bottom of the seat here, you know, with a so that there's a little pole that basically sticks out, you know. So what I'll do is it'll mean that the seat will basically just kind of slide in there, and then underneath here it'll clip down, and then underneath at the back or somewhere I'll put that little lever so that you can pull it and release the seat, so that you don't need to have butterfly nuts or anything like that, which are all good, but I think it would just make it that little bit more slick. Okay, so that's it for now. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. All those likes and subscribes make a difference. Also, I will make sure that in the next video that I make some notes as well on there of what I've used, where you can find that stuff that I've used, and things that I talked about, like the grinding discs and things like that. The grinder as well, that DeWalt grinder I have is pretty awesome. It's been really nice. I know you can get battery operated ones, they're a little bit more expensive, but that cable one for what I need is great, and it was a lot less expensive, and it's got a ton of torque, so it's actually really, really nice. Cuts through stuff like butter, which makes a big difference. Also, in the next video, hopefully we'll start to do things like work on that bracing underneath the seat. Start to think about that latch that's going to pop in. Also, we'll start to think about things like some of the other fittings under the seat, under the saddle there. So we're going to need to think about an electronics tray probably. The bike did come with a little battery cage, and that goes in behind the oil tank. So on this bike, it has it has a dry sump, which means that it has an external oil tank, which is a little bit different. Some bikes still do that these days, but back in the day that was the way this ran. Most engines these days have wet sumps, so it means that the oil just stays in the engine, and there's an oil pump in the sump of the engine that recirculates it, and that's it. But with this particular bike, it had an external oil tank, so which will add to the aesthetic of the bike. When it's all said and done, it'll look pretty sweet. That's one of the reasons I did go for the CB750, the Honda CB750, as opposed to other bikes, because I just really like that look of having that tank on the side. It just thought it was kind of cool. So so we'll have the little battery tray underneath behind that tank, behind that oil tank. Also, we're going to need to put in a little electronics tray in there too, though somehow. We have to think about where that's going to go. And we may need to be a little bit clever with how we do that. I want to make sure that that tray is big enough to hold the M unit. I'm going to put one of the M unit blues in there. So I want to make sure that that tray is big enough to house that for me. And we'll fabricate that. I want to get it all fabricated. I want to do all the bracing and do all the little modifications to the frame that we can now, before we send the frame out for powder coating, because once you powder coat the frame, one, it's expensive to have it done, but the whole reason you powder coat instead of painting is because powder coat's really a lot stronger, a lot thicker and stronger than a standard paint. So instead of having like stones and chippings and things like that chip the paint, with the powder coating it does a way better job, and it kind of keeps it a lot stronger. So we'll do that. But the problem is if we go out and powder coat and then we come back and start going, oh hey, wouldn't it be nice to do this or do that, it's going to look like crap, because we're going to have to make the modification and then paint it so it look like shit. So doing all those modifications now means that we can powder coat it and it looks slick. It looked like it was meant to be there. Also, with making modifications afterwards, if you have to scrape or grind off that that kind of enamel powder coating, what happens is it actually compromises that kind of seal on the frame, and now you're leaving the frame susceptible to rust and things like that. So we don't want that. So how we will steer clear of that is by making sure we're happy with all the modifications and that everything is solid, and then we'll go ahead and we'll powder coat it then once it's all done. Then that means that once it comes back from powder coating, we get the engine into it, we fix on the seat, and it should be just fitting things on at that stage. Start to wire it up, start to put on the wheels, start to put on the suspension. We're basically getting into assembly then, which is, that's the interesting part, that's the fun part. So that's the story. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, and stay safe on the roads if you're riding out there, and if you're not, hopefully keep building, keep your head down, keep the motivation. Don't forget, like I've said before, if I can do this stuff, you can do this stuff, so don't be afraid to try it. And if you have any questions or anything like that on anything that I've done, please feel free to reach out. Like I've said before, this isn't the right way to do things. This is a video series to say that even if you don't know how to do it, you can do it. You know, you can get through it. So it's not always the right thing or the best thing to do, but it's the way I'm doing it, and I'm doing it in the safest and best way that I know how. So, all right. Well, thanks again, and talk to you soon.